Disneyland has long presented itself as a safe and happy place for American children, but it appears that not all's been well with the world's most magical place. There's been yet another child predator scandal scarring the theme park's reputation, and it isn't the first of its kind. In today's video, we look into all the shocking details of a Disney cast member who was baited in a child predator catch, starting off with how a YouTuber lured and exposed a predator. Visiting a Disney theme park is like a dream come true for many. In fact, it's usually at the top of families' bucket lists if they have children. There really isn't anything else like it. It's magical. But unfortunately, it seems that the happiest place on earth isn't all that joyful after all. It's no secret by now that the theme park has a serious problem with child predators crawling around its premises. And it's quite concerning that a place that's meant to be the happiest place for children is littered with alleged pedophiles and groomers. That's right. There's been yet another scandal. In a recent video, the conservative comedian, YouTuber, and self-proclaimed child predator catcher Black Biden 83 claimed to have exposed a Disneyland cast member. For those of you who don't know, he's been on a mission to expose the world's child predators, and his channel is actually a predator spotting niche where he often poses as a minor in an attempt to bait potential groomers who'd act unlawfully. And then with enough evidence, he proceeds to get the law enforcement involved. Pretty dope, huh? Well, this time he ended up laying out a perfect lure for another creep. In his YouTube video titled Predator Catch Number 20, he claims that while posing as a minor, he managed to lure the cast member called Greg online. The employee was constantly in touch with him and even extended invitations to both Disneyland and his home. In the 17-minute-long video, the YouTuber alleges that he'd been in touch with Disneyland employee for more than a week through a dating app where he pretended to be the 16-year-old Anthony. Greg thought it would be a good idea to engage in sexual conversation with a minor throughout his shift, mind you. This is while he's constantly surrounded by kids. He also believed it was okay to send the minor nudes. The screenshots of their conversation are shown at the end of the video are extremely disturbing, so if you're about to check it out, here's a trigger warning. The shots prove that the Black Biden's chat partner was fully aware that the person he was talking to, incredibly inappropriately, was a minor. This is why the plans they discussed were unlawful and possibly of criminal nature. He also told the YouTuber repeatedly that he worked at Disneyland and even offered to bring Anthony along with them someday. But after a string of missed connections on a pile of evidence proving the employee's motives, Black Biden decided it was time to loop in the park officials. In the video, he discusses the incident with someone he captions as Disneyland's head of security while facing the camera down toward the ground, so we don't get to see who this official really is. The employee assured Black Biden that they never tolerate situations like these, but added that there was limited information and he couldn't do much because the incident would need to be thoroughly investigated. The YouTuber was clearly unhappy with this response, saying it appeared as though they were prioritizing the safety of their employees over going up against a potential predator among them. He then headed to keep his plans with the man in the chat and said, "If they don't want to do it, I'm gonna do it." We think involving the police at this point was a better idea, but the YouTuber thought he was some kind of daredevil and he went to his place anyway. When he arrived at the predator's house, he bumped into Greg, walking toward the door while wearing a Disneyland uniform. For the next 8 minutes of the video, we see him confronting Greg with the evidence, only pausing to call the police. But of course, the cast member claimed that he's never spoken to a minor inappropriately before speculating that he might have been set up. If it wasn't you, Greg, how was it possible for the YouTuber to have so much of your personal information, and how did he get your nudes and those screenshots? Anyway, the situation is still going on as the video was only recently posted on August 10th. Although it's unclear how the investigation is progressing specifically, the YouTuber gave his followers an update saying, "The Orange Police Department is taking this seriously and has called me several times today to request more and more proof. I'm fairly certain this man is no longer working there, so so I'll keep everyone updated. We hope the employee has been fired, and we hope he ends up where he belongs, behind the bars. But it's super scary that this is a recurring issue. Sadly, Disney has a serious predator problem because earlier this year, another one of its employees was arrested in connection with a child sex predator sting. Over a dozen men were detained after they engaged in online conversations with undercover police officers who were posing as teenage girls. One of them was the 30-year-old Zachary Hudson, the theme park's bus driver who was detained following an online conversation with the police officer posing as a 15-year-old girl, who he'd been having some super inappropriate conversations with. Not to forget the unsolicited nudes. Reports also say that he described the sexual acts he desired to carry out with the minor. Truly sickening. This is just the tip of the iceberg. There have been several such incidents where a Disney employee has been detained on sex offense-related charges. It's so bad at this point that when conducting sex investigations, Polk County Sheriff Grady Judd reportedly stated that they always have a Disney employee involved, which is super alarming to say the least. In March this year, 4 of their employees were arrested with a huge covert operation targeting child predators, human traffickers, and prostitution. Before that, 17 people were taken into custody as a result of a child pornography sting operation in Central Florida, which also included 2 Disney employees. Honestly, it's like a plague at this point. And unfortunately, they're not doing much about it. We think Disney wouldn't have to go through the constant embarrassment and scandal upon scandal if it did just one thing right. How about vetting your employees before hiring them? We get it. It's a lot of work to do as there are hundreds and thousands of Disney cast members currently working at the theme parks. But even the smallest of organizations make it a point to thoroughly investigate the people they're about to hire. We mean, it's not that hard to look up someone's social media, which is a very common practice in various companies around the world to gauge their employee. How hard is it to have your employees go through a basic psychology test? Besides, we're sure the theme park has a lot of CCTVs in place for safety purposes, but the fact that Greg and many others like him offered minors a tour of the place as bait only means that this has probably been happening often without getting noticed. Makes us shudder to even think that there are so many predators operating within the park so easily while going totally unnoticed. We think Disney, in fact every other organization, no matter how big or small, needs to invest more time, money, and energy in their vetting processes. It's the need of the hour, and thanks to the age of information we're living in, it's become super convenient. Now, enough about creeps and predators, let's move on to some other Disneyland-related news. First up, Disneyland ride breaks down mid-journey. It's a Small World is arguably the most recognizable attraction in any Disney park. The ride, though, is quite dated and has experienced its fair share of problems, malfunctions, and evacuations. Recently, returning to the loading dock proved to be a challenge for one of the rides. Cast members used specialized sticks to try and move the boat, leaving the guests at their mercy waiting for hours. Earlier this month, one of the boats began to sink, but thankfully the cast members saved the day yet again. Clearly, the theme park needs to focus on both its rides and employees, huh? Next up, Disneyland shop closed due to rodent infestation. It appears that a few of Mickey's pals broke into a building at Disneyland, causing it to close. Well, a recent report by the Orange County Register claims that the entire food facility had to be shut down due to vermin droppings discovered in the sales area. Rat sightings at the theme park's resort have been reported on numerous occasions in the past. Earlier this year, guests even claimed that a whole restaurant was infested with rats. Yikes, as if the predators weren't enough. And finally, Disneyland honors dead Marine. Nearly a year after his passing, the 20-year-old U.S. service member who died in the 2021 attack on the Kabul airport was remembered at Disneyland on Monday. During the theme park's resort flag retreat ceremony in Anaheim, California, Marine Dylan Merola's family was acknowledged, and he was remembered for his service. R.I.P. Merola. And that's a wrap for this video. What do you think Disneyland needs to do to tackle predators in its midst? Comment below and let us know. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more. See you in the next one.